Hello everybody, I'm Alyssa and welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to my February mid-month wrap-up. These are the books that I read between the 1st and the 14th of February because February is only 14 days long, or 28 days long. I apologize. Sorry, I kind of took a random little hiatus. I just needed a week off. I have not been feeling creative and I haven't wanted to edit or do anything, so I just took a week off, for fun. But yeah, I'm here to talk about the 16 books that I completed and the one DNF for the the first half of February. The first book that I finished was Out of Bounds by Lucia Franco. This is just a kind of like a companion novel to the Off Balance series. It's just more Rhea and Kova content, basically. It was 5 stars. It was fantastic. I loved it. I love any little bits of Rhea and Kova that I can get, and I will take them all. Then the book that I DNF'd was Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray. This is supposed to be like a roommate's girlfriend story, but I was like 25% in, and basically it was just like she was so much like, I'm not like other girls. And, her boyfriend was cheating on her, so, he was a trash bag human. So, you were obviously not rooting for him. But, his roommates all knew that he was cheating on her. And instead of, telling her or telling him to stop, they just let it happen. And, it was no big deal. So, yeah, and then, he got all mad because, for some reason, his roommate shirt was in his room. And she put it on. And so, he got mad at her for wearing his roommate's shirt. It was dumb. I was like, nah, I'm piecing out of this at about 112 pages in. I just didn't have the time to want to read a bad book. So, yes, I DNF'd it, and it gets no rating. Then I read The Air He Breathes by Brittany Cherry. I'm slowly making my way through Brittany Cherry's backlist. This was just a super sweet romance. This is in her Element series. They're all standalones, but it's the only thing that's connected is the fact that the titles are all of Elements. So there's The Air He Breathes, The Gravity of Us, The Fire Between High and Low, and Silent Waters. So there's just different elements, but they literally have nothing to do with each other, and they're all small town, I think. So this is Elizabeth and Tristan. It is a single parent, which we love a single parent. Both Elizabeth and Tristan are dealing with some trauma from the past year, and yeah, they're both widowers, and they end up being neighbors. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I saw the twist coming. I did not see the bad guy happening. That was surprising. This one was actually more romantic suspensey with the end. Very much had that romantic suspense element to it, but I really enjoyed it. I gave 4.5 stars. But I did see the twist happening, and the way Tristan handled it really pissed me off. So yes. Then I read Legend and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is just a fun cozy fantasy. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's everywhere. I enjoyed it. It's this orc named Viv wants to go and start a coffee shop in a small town, or in a town, and they don't know what it is. They call it this bean water, and she has an animal companion. It's there's a little bit of a love story. It's a good time. I gave it 4.5 stars, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And I would definitely continue I gave it 4 stars, and I would definitely continue if there are more. Then I finished Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross. This is the 4th book in the Stay Spell series. This is Livy and Gareth. It's an enemies to lovers kind of romance. Basically, Livy is a Savoy sister, of course. All these books follow the Savoy sisters. She is an influencer witch, so basically, she can kind of get people to on her side, and to feel things. And then she is in a competition with a Grimm named Gareth. We don't know much about Grimms. They are very mysterious. We have, up until this point, we hadn't really learned much about them. We did know that they had telekinesis and things like that, but we didn't know a ton about them. And yeah, you learn a lot about them, and it was fantastic. It's a wonderful enemies to lovers. I gave 5 stars. I still think I still think Witches Get Stitches might be my favorite. I don't know though. But I have a feeling Resting Witch Face is going to be my favorite. But yeah, I mean, they're all good. Every single book in this series has been 4 or 5 stars. So, fantastic. But yeah, this is definitely a series that you want to read in order because there is like an overarching plot, and it even comes up in this one. I didn't think it was going to be as big of a part of this one as it was, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that it was still a big part of it. So, yes, I give this one 5 stars, of course. Then I read a book that I probably should have DNF'd, which was Power by Cassandra Robbins. This was a mother's fiance romance. Jess, I'm in Jess from Peace Love Books Patreon, and she was doing a 24-hour readathon, and we were talking about it during sprints, and I was like, you know what, that sounds good, and it was short, so I was like, I could read that. I did not like this. It made me mad. I don't know. I felt like he was just awful. Like, I mean, her mother was a trash bag human, so like you didn't feel bad about him cheating on her. So yeah, this is Jet and Raven, and basically Raven and her mother are not friends. They do not get along. Raven's mom had slept with Raven's high school boyfriend because Raven wouldn't put out, and Raven comes to visit for summer, and she meets her mom's new fiance, Jet, and her mom and Jet have a relationship that, like, they don't love each other. They know they don't love each other. They fool around with other people together, sometimes even separately. And yeah, so I don't know. It was just, I was not a fan. But this, I mean, obviously age gap, taboo romance, very insta-lust. She was a virgin, and it was just really awkward. I just, yeah, was not a fan. So I don't need to keep talking about it. Then I read That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This was so cute. This was for Novellathon and Black Romanticathon because Kimberly Lemming is a author of color. But I give this 4.5 stars. This is Cinnamon and Fallon, and basically, like the title says, Cinnamon gets drunk, and she sees this demon coming after her, so she throws some cinnamon at him. Some cinnamon sticks at him, because that's where her family grows. And then Fallon ends up, like, kind of taking her on a quest. It was just fun. I had a great time. Fated mates, dislike to love, because obviously he's a demon. But yeah, I give 5 stars. It was, or 4.5 stars. It was a good time. Then I read Making Faces by Amy Harmon. This was one of my 12 picks from 12 friends challenges from Liezel from Liezel Loves Books, and I sobbed. Absolutely sobbed. So many tears. So it is a romance. There is a romance. I wouldn't call it a romance. It's more of like a contemporary story with a very heavy romance subplot, but there's very interconnected stories, but the main story does follow Fern and Ambrose, and that is like the romance, the love between the two. Fern has always kind of been in love with Ambrose. They grew up together, but Fern has always kind of just hung back in the sides, taking care of her cousin Bailey, who has muscular dystrophy, and so she always kind of hung out with him and like babied him and was always doing things for him. But Bailey didn't really necessarily like that, and he always looked up to Ambrose because Ambrose was a wrestler and Bailey wanted to be a wrestler. And then, 9/11 happens, and Ambrose decides to go off to war instead of going to college, and some stuff happens, and then he comes back to town and he's scarred, but Fern still thinks he's like the most beautiful boy, and of course things are gonna go from there. I cried so many times. I sobbed. But yeah, 5 stars, of course. It was just phenomenal. A phenomenal book. Then I read Cupid's Peak by Lee Jacot. This is just a fun novella in the Holly Knight series. This is the first book that I've read in the Holly Knight series. This was Mia and Eli. And Mia was Eli's tutor when they were in high school. And she always had a crush on him, like was always kind of in love with him. And like their last interaction in high school kind of said that he kind of had a thing for her. Well, now Mia's life is very, like, she plans everything out. She plans when she's going to have an O. Like, it's very much, her life is not spontaneous. Well, her twin sister decides to book her get her a blind date at, like, the most romantic, why can't I think of the word, resort in town, and on Valentine's Day. And who is there but Eli? And of course, things are gonna happen. And yeah, it was fantastic. It was really good. Very steamy, of course. I mean, it was just a fun novella, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. This is a, like, kind of enemies. I wouldn't even say that they're enemies. The heroine just doesn't like the hero. Charisse is the heroine's name. She just doesn't like Kieran. Well, and rightfully so, because Kieran does say some stuff about her business. And so they get off on, like, they're not in a good spot. But yeah, they end up, of course, they're both, Charisse is, her sister's getting married, so obviously she's the maid of honor, and Kieran is her sister's future husband's best man. So they end up having to spend a lot of time together. So there's that forced proximity element of it. And yeah, it was a good time. I gave 3.5 stars. There were just a few things that I kind of wish were a little bit more fleshed out. I thought the third act conflict was really dumb. Like, very, very heavily miscommunication. Like, he could have just told her from the beginning. She could have listened to him instead of just freaking out. Yeah. So, I give 3.5 stars. But it was a good book. If you're looking for a baking romance set on an island, that's definitely one that I would go with. Then I read Neighborly by Katrina Jackson. This is a Black love novella that was just very spicy. So basically, Heaven and Calvin are in a committed relationship. They're a younger couple. But Calvin's a boxer, and he's finally gonna, he's finally going pro. So he gets them a new place to live. Well, they're kind of renting, like, an apartment attached to another apartment, where Tasha and Steven, who are an established married couple, but they have an open marriage. And Tasha and Heaven are both very interested in each other. And Calvin and Steven see this, and they're okay with their wives, or with their significant others, hooking up with each other, as long as everyone's involved. So yeah, it was just a fun, I don't want to say it's polyamorous, because not everyone gets with everyone, but it's just a fun, good time for everyone involved. Then I finished Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. This is her newest romantic suspense. Everyone said that this was very suspenseful. I didn't think it was all that suspenseful. I thought it was a really good book. I still gave it 4.5 stars. It made me cry. But I was not shocked by what happened. And I was never, like, scared. Like, I felt like the air he breathes was a little bit more suspenseful than this, which I know I'm in the minority because everyone says this is her most suspenseful book, but I thought Tattered Stars was more suspenseful. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I just was missing stuff, but I saw who the bad guy was from the beginning. But yeah, I still give it 4.5 stars. It's a second chance romance, which is my favorite, so I love a good second chance romance. Ren, something happens in the prologue. Her and Holt are in a relationship. They've been in a relationship for quite a while, like all throughout high school, basically. Something happens in the prologue, and it causes Holt to run away, basically, because something happens to Ren, and he blames himself. So now it's 10 years later, and something has happened to his dad, so he's back in their small town, and it's the 10-year anniversary of what had happened, and things are happening similarly again. And Holt thinks that he might be the reason it's happening, and there's all sorts of craziness. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. I gave 4.5 stars. And yeah, I did think my biggest complaint was that she took him back very, very easily. Like, I wish he would have groveled a little bit more, because I love me a good grovel. Then I read Coming Home by Kennedy Ryan. This is Kennedy Ryan's like Audible exclusive release novella. This was Torin and Naomi, and they went to the same college, and they always kind of both had a thing for each other, but it was always kind of right person, wrong time. And now it's 2018, 20 years later, and they're both back at school, at the school for a homecoming. And one thing's gonna lead to another, of course. I enjoyed it. I just wish it was a 2-hour novella. I wish it was a 4-hour novella. Like, I just wish there was a little bit more. I felt like there was a lot of other stuff happening, so it wasn't like, for a 2-hour long novella, there should have been more of like just the couple, and I felt like there was a lot of outside influence and things happening for such a short time. But I still gave it 4.5 stars. Kennedy Ryan is a phenomenal author and can do no wrong. Then I finished Daughter of No World by Carissa Broadbent. This is about a girl named Tasana who is a slave, and she is told that she can buy her freedom by earning a certain amount of gold. She ends up earning that gold and goes to buy her freedom, and the guy's like, no, I was never gonna let you be free. And so she does something to him and has to escape, and she goes to the Order and wants to save her friend because she left without being able to save her friend. Like, she just had to get out of town. And so the Order pairs her up with Maximilian Farleone, I think is how you say his name. I could be wrong. And Max is he does not like the Order for something that happened. And he's very reluctant to help her. And of course, he does end up helping her, and he's very grumpy towards her. But things are going to happen, and then something happens to Tasana that was similar to what happened to Max. And he kind of blames himself. And, one thing's going to lead. But it was so good. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, which I know seems really low. But I also think I didn't give this book the proper, time I needed to give it. And I'm excited to continue on in the series. And then hopefully, this will end up being, a rereadable series. And I'll bump my rating up. But for now, it's 3.5 stars. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to see where Carissa Broadbent takes the story. So, yes. Then, I was just in the mood for a comfort read while I was driving home. And so I read Ghosted by J.M. Darhauer. I've read this several times now, and I've talked about it several times, and I'm not going to talk about it again, but it's my favorite. It's my favorite book of all time. I love it. Kennedy and Jonathan are just absolute perfection, and I can't wait to actually read this and, read it physically and annotate the absolute hell out of this book. So, yeah, adore that one. 5 stars. If you want more thoughts, I have many video with thoughts about it. Then I read my most anticipated release of the year. I read Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is phenomenal. It is 5 stars, of course. Sloane and Jasper, friends to lovers. Sloane is a cousin of the Eaton family, and she's kind of Violet. She's closer to Violet's age. And Jasper is a hockey player who was taken in by the Eaton family when he was 16 because something had happened. And so the Eatons took him in. And he was basically raised by Harvey. And so Jasper Gervais is basically an Eaton, but So there is all those jokes about them being cousins, but they're not actually. There's no blood relation at all because Jasper's not really related to them in the blood sense of the word. But yeah, basically, they have always, Sloane has always been in love with Jasper. From the moment she saw him, she was, enamored by this boy. And something happens as they got older, and Jasper has kept his distance from her for reasons, which you learn in the book. And now Sloane is about to get married to a man named Sterling Woodcock, which, that name there alone just tells you how much he was going to be with her in the end. But yeah, so she's supposed to marry this man named Sterling Woodcock. On the day of her wedding, she finds something out, and she needs to get the hell out of there. So Jasper and the Eaton clan help her escape. And they go back to Wishing Well Ranch. And then Harvey needs someone to haul some hay to Violet over in Gold Rush Ranch. And so Jasper's like, I'll do it. You need to be here for reasons. Cade needs to be here for reasons. I'll go. I'll do it. And Sloane's like, I will go with you. I need to get away. I can't be here. I don't want to be around. I just need to go. So they go on this road trip together. And of course, one thing's going to lead to another. They're going to stay in places where there's only one bed. It was just phenomenal. I gave 5 stars. I loved it. It was just so good. Probably not my favorite. I still would probably say Heartless is my favorite. Then I'd probably actually put Flawless second and then this one third, but all still 5 stars. And this is, I have a feeling, going to be a comfort series for me where I'm just going to go back to it all the time and read it all the time. I have it. I have the physical book. Can get the ebook on Kindle, and I have the audiobooks for all of them. So like, they're just going to be comfort reads, and I'm so excited to reread them all already. And I can't wait for Reckless, because the couple in Reckless is set up, and yes. And then the last book that I finished in the first half of the month was My Professor by Iris Gray. It's another book that I probably should have DNF'd, but yeah, I did not. And I gave it 2.5 stars, and it was not great. This is Amelia and Jonathan. And when Amelia's in college, in undergrad, she goes to take this professor's course. And he is like the hot professor that everyone just thinks is just so hot. And girls like this would ever happen. Girls skip class to go to his class. And the way it makes it sound is that his class happened in this big auditorium. And he singles Amelia out multiple times. But it's like, if you're in a big auditorium space, you're not going to be able to single one person out. Why do I keep saying signal? Single one person out. It just was unbelievable. And he was just an insufferable dickweed. And she was just not a heroine that you wanted to root for. So yeah, I gave it 2.5 stars. R.S. Gray can write. And so that is a full basic star was to R.S. Gray's writing. And I did enjoy, obviously I loved Me and Age Gap. And I loved, where the story, the plot lines in the story. I just didn't love the characters. And I didn't necessarily enjoy my time. And yeah. But yeah, those are the 16 books that I completed in the 1 DNF that I had in the first half of the month. If you made it to the end of this video, leave me a hockey stick, because Jasper Gervais is a hockey player and we love hockey. So leave me a hockey stick or a puck or something, or a net, some sort of hockey related emoji. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. It really helps me out. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.